The San Jose Sharks, a team that after 3 decades still has no Stanley Cup championship to its name. In the regular season, the Sharks have been one of the NHL's most consistent teams of the last 25 years. From 1998 to 2019, for example, San Jose made the postseason in 19 out of 21 seasons, and aside from a few outliers, could always be counted on for over 40 wins. The postseason, however, has been another story. Over the course of their 21 playoff berths in franchise history, the Sharks have only reached the conference final 4 times, and the Stanley Cup final once, falling in 6 games to the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016. To try and stay competitive, Sharks management offered some extremely large contracts to their core players. An 8-year extension for Brent Burns in 2016, a 6-year extension for the now bought-out Martin Jones in 2017, 8-year extensions for Logan Couture and Marc-Edouard Vlasic in 2018, an 8-year contract for the newly acquired Erik Karlsson in 2019, and the most recent 8-year extension going to Tomas Hertl in 2022. These decisions have been costly, both literally and figuratively, as the Sharks now find themselves in a 3-year postseason drought, the longest in franchise history, and will now have to find a way to pay their future stars, such as Timo Meier and William Eklund, while also managing the cap hits of the old guard. Headed into their 31st season in franchise history, can the aging core mesh with a less than ideal supporting cast? Or will the team have to begin to be stripped for parts? With former GM Doug Wilson stepping down from the position after almost 20 years on the job, San Jose ownership has reached out to GM Data and his team of assistant general managers to take over. Welcome to the Shark Tank. How's it going, everyone? Data here, and welcome to our brand new franchise mode series here on NHL 23, taking over the San Jose Sharks. As I said in the intro, and I'm sorry if you're a Sharks fan, that's a little bit depressing, a team that has been very strong for years. 40 wins, 45 wins, 50 plus win seasons, but so much bad luck, so much heartbreak in the postseason. We are here to take over the Sharks and bring them to the glory that they deserve. It's an aging core, there is some youth, we have some no movement clauses to have to maneuver around. It's going to be a fun one. If you've never watched here on the channel, we've done Seattle, we've done Philadelphia, we've done Columbus, we've done Minnesota, Buffalo, so many teams, so check out the channel if you haven't already. Today, moving back to the Western Conference after spending a good number of years with the Flyers on NHL 22, we now begin NHL 23 with the Sharks. It was a bit of a tight vote on the channel as we had a poll at the end of our Flyers series to see which team would we begin NHL 23 with. It was between the Dallas Stars, the New York Islanders, and the San Jose Sharks. They were the 3 most requested teams. Put it to a poll, over 500 votes were cast, and coming out with 42% of the votes were the San Jose Sharks. I know we had technically already done a series with the Sharks on Twitch back on NHL 20, but that was just a 4-episode short series. If you want to watch it on YouTube, you can go back in the archives and check it out. But this will be the first time that we do a full-fledged franchise mode series with the team. So in today's episode, we'll go through the settings that we're using to begin the franchise mode, get some thoughts for how we should begin year number 1, the 2022-23 season. I'll show you the roster that we're using, some of the created players that I have added to the game, and then it's up to you, the assistant general managers, to add your thoughts, because in this series it's quite unique. Maybe not like some of the other ones you've seen on YouTube. This series does not operate without the assistant general managers. Yes, here I am, GM Data, making the final decisions, but your YouTube comments, your Discord messages, your Twitter DMs, all of those go into the decisions that we make, and that is why we have been so successful here on the channel. So personally, I always turn owner mode off. I'm not a fan of having to update the bathrooms and I get $30,000 for it, and then my scouts cost like $100,000 each. I need 20 of them. No, it's unfortunately not that great. I always turn it off. CPU trades are turned on. Player morale also turned off. Unfortunately, another broken system. A guy is injured, you keep him out of your lineup, then he says, hey, why didn't you play me? I'm an 85 overall. Now I'm playing like a 78. No, thank you. Fog of War, also, it's a good idea, but I'm not a huge fan of it either, the way that it's executed. I'm going to save you my thoughts, but because I've said it a lot of times before, but I'm not a big Fog of War fan, so I'm going to turn that off as well. Salary cap, of course, is turned on, and I've changed the salary caps, the salaries of different players in the NHL to make sure that teams that are over the salary cap or under the salary cap do not get altered by the AI. Head coach edit line turned off. We'll take care of that. Auto staff management, auto free agents, all that is turned off because we want to be manually controlling all of it. And finally, moving to the rules and settings, other little miscellaneous things you may be interested in if you are interested in the nitty gritty. Game style, I go 4 out of 4 full sim, period length 5 minutes, authentic cap penalties, autosave, 25-year franchise mode length, superstar difficulty, authentic draft pick ownership, NHL salary cap is on, trade difficulty set to hard, waivers, relocation, fog of war, all that normal stuff. Auto scouting, only for pro scouting. I do my amateur scouting on my own, and auto staff management is turned off. Now to the advanced settings. Head coach edit lines, no. I will only want to know when players are fully healed. I'm going to try something different this year for the scoring. I've heard a lot of different recommendations. Medium scoring, high scoring, shot frequency. It's tough to find a good middle ground of McDavid's getting 100 plus points and goalies are not allowing 3 goals against per game. So I'm going to try doing something I've experimented with a little bit. And hey, it's a new game. If we need to change it later on, we can change it. I'm going to try high scoring with low shooting. I think that might be a good middle ground. I'm going to try high scoring, low shooting. It's the first time I play with this. I usually just go medium, but if you have any suggestions on that, let me know. Draft class quality, generated prospect quality, we're going to start them both at medium because we have Bedard, we have created players such as Mishkov, we have Fantilli. I want to keep them as the highest guys, not generated guys. So we'll keep medium for the draft classes. Everything else is authentic. Head coach firing pop-up. Yes. Waiver notifications, retired jerseys, all that lovely stuff. Last thing is going to be here, the gameplay sliders. This year for the injuries. I usually keep my injury occurrence at 15 on 100, but now with lines being even harder to change than usual, NHL 23 than 22, I know it's not as realistic, but if we want it to be 100% realistic, we'd keep it at 50, if not more, because players are getting day-to-day injuries all the time. Instead, I would rather have just 1 or 2 or 3 injuries per season because it takes a very long time. I'm talking like 10 minutes per injury to fix all the lineups, the special teams, the penalty kill, and you can't just click replace all because it's unfortunately broken. So I'm going to try 10 on 100. I've gone 12 sometimes. I'm going to go 10 on 100 this year for the injury slider. If we need to change it, we'll change it. And I will be changing the sliders later on because some people have suggested different things for better sim ability. I'll be touching those up a little bit and I'll make you aware of anything that happens. So thank you for bearing with me through the housekeeping. We will now start our franchise mode, salary cap turned on, and I will show you a bit about the roster that we are using for this franchise mode. Okay, so here is the roster that I will be using here in this franchise mode series. They are the EA rosters, but with my own twist. I've not gone through every single player I did. Oh, you're an 82. You should really be an 81. Oh, you have 86 shooting accuracy. Yeah, more like 87. Stuff like that. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to go through and fix every little small thing, but there are many things that I did fix up. Like, I don't know, like random things that really stand out to me, like on the Canadians, Jonathan Drouin with his medium elite potential. Come on now, medium top 6, stuff like that. I've made some changes. But the biggest things that I've made changes to have been the salaries of the players. So for example, let's say in the Toronto Maple Leafs, the team is over the salary. Actually, a great example would be the Vegas Golden Knights. This team is over the salary cap by a lot due to LTIR not being a part of franchise mode. So if you've seen other videos that I've made describing what I do to make the roster cap compliant, you can check that video in the top right card right now. I've made a video on it. I have an article about it on Puckpedia, and I'm also telling you about it right now. So teams that are over the salary cap have to have some players played around with a little bit. Like Phil Kessel, I put him on league minimum 750K. I have to bring Nolan Patrick down to 750K. Another guy who was medium elite made a medium top 6, or was he low elite? Brett Howden brought him down to league minimum 750K. Because if not, if you start franchise mode with Vegas being whatever 14 million over the salary cap, Jack Eichel, instead of costing $10 million for the next 4 years, now costs $9.3 million for the next 4 years. And Mark Stone now costs $8.5 million or $8.65 million for the next 5 years. So it gives the team a break, and I don't want that to happen. I want it to be as realistic as possible for the AI GM and for myself as the GM for whatever team I'm playing as. So if you haven't changed your roster, you can go ahead and follow my steps that I've given in the article or in that video, or you can download my custom roster on PlayStation 4. It's called Data Cap Compliant 2. Data Cap Compliant was when the rosters dropped. Data Cap Compliant 2 is fully updated to the moment, such as Eric Staal just signing with the Florida Panthers, Michael Kempny being bought out by the Seattle Kraken. All that stuff has been updated to the second of recording right now. So if you're on PS4, I'd recommend those rosters. Now, for the created players, basically a lot. I've done all the first round picks that are not in the game. It would be tempting for me to go deeper, guys like Lane Hudson on the Canadians. But if I start getting into second round picks, third round picks, like just creating these players right here took me an entire evening. And by entire evening, I don't mean 2 hours. I'm talking like I ate supper, did this, and went to bed past midnight. That's what I'm talking about. So, I'm making it as realistic as possible. I'm looking at their draft profiles and making the player types and the shooting and the pass shoot bias all as accurate as possible. So we've got Cutter Gauthier on the Philadelphia Flyers, Chaz Lucius on the Winnipeg Jets, Daniil Yurov on the Minnesota Wild, Frank Nazar on the Chicago Blackhawks, Isaac Howard on the Lightning, Jimmy Snuggerud on the Blues, Logan Cooley on the Coyotes, Luke Hughes on the Devils, Matt Coronado on the Flames, Matthew Knees on the Maple Leafs, Riker McGroarty on the Jets, Yaroslav Askarov on the Predators, and Simon Nemec on the Devils. Then we also have two created players for the 2023 draft class, Adam Fantilli and Matvey Mishkov right here. Maybe I'm pronouncing some names wrong here, my apologies, but those are the created players that we will have for our franchise mode. When we do our next series, whatever, in January or February of 2023, maybe we'll have the rosters changed a little bit more to make accommodations for whatever other players need to be involved. Now, getting back to the San Jose Sharks, let's check out this organization and see what we are dealing with. I'm going to go through the contract screen. So here on San Jose, we're pretty close to the salary cap here. Currently at according to the game, not the real life, but according to the game, it gives us an $80.775 million cap hit. It's different, players in the NHL, AHL, a bit different than the probably current day Sharks, and maybe they have an injury involved. But it gives us $1.725 million in cap space, and also $2.425 million in buyout penalties, and $2.72 in retained salary. So that needs to also be kept in mind because it's going to be affecting us. That's over $5 million right there. That hurts. That's a second line winger for us. So on this team, we have a lot of no movement clauses as well that we'll have to keep in mind throughout the series. To keep things realistic, we want to adhere to those rules that these contracts have. So first off, we have Tomas Hertl, probably the star of our team, 87 overall, first line center / left winger. He is listed as a sniper as well, has the 4-star defense, 82 faceoffs, great puck skills, shooting, all that stuff, 90 offensive awareness. He is our guy, and he's going to be here for a long time. 8-year extension that he just signed, and there is a full no movement clause at the moment. That becomes a 3-team trade list in as early as 2025, and a 15-team trade list in 2028. So we got to keep those in mind. If we want to make a trade, we'll have to put teams into a randomizer and see which teams we'll be able to trade him to. If we want to trade Hertl in 3 years, we would put all 32 teams in a randomizer, or 31 other teams, and whichever top 3 teams it gave us, those would be the ones we're allowed to make a trade with. Those are the kinds of confines that we are giving ourselves. Now, Timo Meier, 87 overall, medium elite, 25 years of age, probably just as good, if not better, than Hertl in the game, and will get better. Of course, 4.5-star shooting, 90 offensive awareness, listed as a power forward, has some X factors. He's a monster. Love me some Timo Meier, but he is on an expiring deal. Headed into next season, we have $10.1 million in extension dollars. He wants a very large contract. Definitely can't pay him that right now, but he would be an RFA, so we could qualify him and figure it out. But even if we gave a lot of money to Timo Meier, that would leave the Sharks with the same problem that they've always been having. They're going to be lacking very much in the bottom six and in their depth positions. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but there is Timo Meier. Logan Couture, the captain, he is still signed for 5 more years at $8 million. Probably our first line center. He's listed as a playmaker, 89 passing, 4-star shooting, once again, 90 offensive awareness. He has a modified no trade clause, so he would submit a 3-team trade list. So if we want to trade Logan Couture, there are only 3 teams that we could trade him to. He's 33 years of age. I don't know, maybe that's something that we think about. Erik Karlsson, 86 overall here in San Jose, signed at $11.5 million for 5 more years. At his best, he is amazing, and he still got it. But can he get it? I guess that's the problem. You know, if he has to be fully healthy, he has to have support. He's not the Erik Karlsson of the Ottawa Senators anymore, I don't think. But I think that he is still really good at his best. We just got to get him there. 92 passing, 90 offensive awareness once again, 4-star defense, and a big contract with a full no movement clause. Next, we see Alex Barabanov, signed at $2.5 million for 2 more years. He is a playmaker, has a good fit on the first line, it looks like. And, you know, 83 overall, I could see him continuing to grow. I like Barabanov, and he has a modified no trade clause. We don't need to look at all the trade clauses right now, just the big ones, but he does have a modified no trade. Kevin Laban, medium top 6 potential, making $4.725 for 2 more years. Second, third line guy, I'm not married to keeping him on this team. He's been a lifer so far, drafted in 2014. He was a 6th round pick. I'd like to keep him, but he's a bit costly, so keep him in mind. Oscar Lindblom, who is a channel favorite with the Philadelphia Flyers. He is now on the Sharks at an 82 overall, signed for 2 years at 2.5. I would love to make him a favorite here in San Jose as well, so keep him in mind. Nick Bonino, he's a 3rd, 4th line center, 81 overall at $2 million. We keep moving down. We see Mario Ferraro signed at a big $3.25 million for 4 more years. Very underrated defenseman. He's a solid guy who could play 1st or 3rd pair, it looks like, according to the scheme fit on the right. Top 4D potential. Hopefully we can get some growth out of him. We see Kinizov, medium top 4D potential as well. He is an undrafted defensive defenseman. Then we see Luke Kunin, who came in that trade from the Predators. 81 overall. He has potential to grow with medium top 6 at the age of 24. So another decent piece for us. Nudivara, $1.5 million, 81 overall, 3rd pair D. Now, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, $7 million for the next 4 years. 81 overall, 35 years of age. He's already getting up there, and he still has 4 more years to go. Ouch. 4-star defense, which is good. But if we want to trade him, I believe it's a full no-move clause at the moment. But starting next season, in 2023-24, it would be a 3-team trade list. So we have to keep him this year. But if we want to move him next year, we could look at moving him to 3 different teams. He's been a lifer here on the Sharks. It's been, 17 years since he was drafted. So I'd like to win. That's my thing, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to win with Couture, with Vlasic, with Karlsson. But we'll see what we can do and what kind of direction we're going in. Noah Gregor at low top 9 potential, 80 overall. Matt Benning signed at 1.25 for 4 years, so he'll be a long-term 3rd pair guy. Matt Nieto, CMEC at $2.25 million. That's a contract I'm not married to for sure. Nico Sturm, I like him in a 4th line role. Lorenz, Gadjevich. Then we, guys like Gadjevich who are full-time NHLers, 75 overall. So I don't know what kind of team we'll be in the simulation. That's what I'm thinking about. So defense, we're looking at, it drops off dramatically after Erik Karlsson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's our top 6 right there, with CMEC being the 7th D-man, perhaps. And then for the forwards, we'll check it out in the lines later on. But finishing off with the goaltenders, this is one of the stronger positions, I would say. Capo Kakinen, 85 overall, medium starter, 26 years of age, signed at 2.75 for 2 more years. I'm a fan of him. I'm a believer. I think that he could be a long-term starter for the Sharks in real life and here in fantasy world. And he's backed up by James Reimer, who's an 84 overall. Love to see it. Signed at $2.25 million. I'd love to win with Optimus Rhyme as well, but I'm not sure how long he'll stick around and have a high enough overall to be our backup goalie. Now, in the system, of course, our number one prospect is William Eklund. He is 77 overall, medium elite, 19 years of age, drafted 7th overall in 2021. He'll play with the Barracuda in this first season, but hopefully he is a difference maker moving into as soon as 2023-24. Evgeny Sveshnikov, who's a full-time NHLer right now this season, he'll be called up. He has top 6 potential. Maybe he could get there, but we'll give him every chance that he can in the top 9. Both Delot, 76 overall, medium top 6, second-round pick in 2020. Another great prospect in the system. Reedy, 23 years of age, 75 overall, medium top 6. Scott Reedy, 4th-round pick sniper. He could get there, a little more potential still in him. Of course, Ryan Merkley, he is a 1st-round pick from 2018. Offensive defenseman, they've been trying to make him work. He has low elite potential, 73 overall. He could still get there. He hasn't played much NHL time, but he could get there. He's been, an interesting case for the last few years. Now he's 22. These next couple of years are going to be the deciders. If we can give him first line minutes in the AHL, maybe he makes the NHL by next season. Fingers crossed for him. Aside from that, we see some top 4D guys. We see some top 6 forward guys. Bystedt, who was late 1st-round pick. Yep. So there's some hope for the future here in San Jose for sure. But those contracts are going to be hurting us. And not only do they hurt us, not all of them necessarily have a lot of value. Like paying all that money for Thomas Hertl, I could swallow that. Paying all that money for Marc-Edouard Vlasic, that's what really hurts. So there's not much left to say here, ladies and gentlemen. What I got to say to close things off will be here's the line screen. Here is how our lineup may look for the beginning of the season. I'm going to call up Sveshnikov and make a couple changes. All right, so looking at things a bit more deeply here on paper, this is a rough starting lineup. First line could be Barabanov with Hertl and Meier. Unfortunately, the new chemistry system at NHL is atrocious. Pretty much only cares about X factors. So even with a good line score, I'm only getting a +1 here because of the X factors that Hertl and Meier have. Meanwhile, the rest of the lineup have no pluses, and you get no pluses in the AHL because obviously they don't have X factors. They're AHL players. So I get no pluses on chemistry, even though I go defensive defenseman and offensive defenseman with, here's a check mark, here's 1X. It should be at least a +1 in the old system. Nope, it's a 0. So it's impossible to get any good chemistry, but I digress. Don't want to go on too much of a rant. Okay, Lindblom, Couture, and Laban could be the second line. Kunin, Sturm, Sveshnikov on the third. Nieto, Benino, Gregor on the fourth. Defense, I'm considering giving X factors to Couture and or Carlson, because Erik Karlsson should definitely have something, at least like passing. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, especially with 2 check marks here, and Ferraro has a check mark here. This should be at least a +1. Even if I put a defensive defenseman, I guess he doesn't have a good fit, but no one gives a +1 with Carlson. It's a joke. So Mario Ferraro is first pair with Carlson, Knizov, and Nudivara second pair, Vlasic Benning on the third pair. And goaltending is Kakinen backed up by Reimer. 13th forward is Steven Lorentz. 7th D-man, Radim Simek. The only thing that's different about NHL, you'll notice that there's a little extra space underneath each name because the X factors now go there. And if you press on triangle, it brings you to strategies, which you cannot edit. Only the coach can do them, so I'm not sure why they show them to you. But you can change which line is your starting line. All this stuff, it shows you a million things you can't even touch, so thanks for nothing. Not sure why you're showing it to me. But on for the special teams, if I go to the power play, I could change up stuff like literally only the roles and the face-off formation. Distributor, finisher, puck carrier, and face-off formation. That's what I can change. So it's sticky. These menus are so sticky. Come on. Anyways, that's what's new for changing lines. Now, that's our lineup. Do we want to make any trades off the bat? Do we want to tank and just let what's happening happen and take its course? Do we want to maybe try and be competitive and see what happens and reassess around the deadline? Those are all different things that we can keep in mind. Now, the very last thing will be to show you our trade value and our draft pick situation if you want to think about updating that as well. We have Eklund as the player with the most value on our team. Meier, Hertl, Couture, Bordelot. Draft picks, we have our first this year as well as a second, but we don't have our third. We have Carolina's third. 4th, Columbus is 5th, our 5th, 6th, 7th, and Vancouver 7th as well. After that, we have Vegas is 4th next year, Colorado's 5th next year, and that's it. All our own picks aside from that. Looking at what may be available from other teams in the NHL, just quickly, maybe there's someone on the trade block who may pique your interest for right now or for down the road. Let's check it out. Some are going to be unrealistic, like we're not trading for John Klingberg, who just got signed, but maybe other ones will be. Cam Fowler, Shattenkirk, Kulikov, all on the block in Anaheim. Arizona says Nemeth. Boston has McLaughlin on the block. Buffalo says Hinestroza. Calgary has Coronado. Interesting. Connor Zary. Okay. Poirier is there. Suzuki, Drury, Gunler, Mateos. A lot of guys in Carolina. Blackwell in Chicago. Colorado has Kaut, Bocage, Voracek, Nyquist, Jenner, and Goodbranson in Columbus. Dallas, Antonio Stranges. Low top 6 potential. Perron, Kopp, Sherratt, a few other names here in Detroit. Edmonton, Janmark, and Derek Ryan. Florida, Saren Noel, Justin Surdif, okay. LA Kings, Philippe Dano, Yafalo, Arvidsson, Edler. Minnesota, Spurgeon, Brodin, Dumba, Foligno, Goligoski, Goudreau, okay. Montreal Canadiens, Armia, and Byron. Predators, nobody. Devils, Severson or Severson, Howla, and Tatar. Islanders, Mayfield, Aho, and Ledoux. Rangers, Matthew Robertson, okay. And this guy Skinner. Senators, Formenton, who's an RFA right now. Derek Brassard and Austin Watson. The Flyers, Ryan Ellis and Justin Braun. Pittsburgh Penguins, P.O. Joseph. Okay. I think I've heard of him being linked to trades in the real world as well. So P.O. Joseph, keep that in mind. Seattle, Tanev and Donskoy. St. Louis, Nola Chari. Tampa Bay, a couple of these names here. Toronto, a few prospects down the list we go. Vancouver, and while I'm on Toronto, like for example, I didn't create a Mirov on Toronto. I didn't create Miroshnichenko on the Washington Capitals. Players whose careers, because of health problems or whatever else, are kind of up in the air right now. I did not make those for right now. I might change down the road, but I didn't create them for right now. Matthew Nees over in Toronto. Abruchese, Derek Chintsev, a few guys on the block for the Maple Leafs. Then we see the Vancouver Canucks have Ekman Larson, Tyler Myers, Pearson, Shen, and Pullman all on the block. Vegas, few prospects, including Chaika and Dean. Washington Capitals, Alexiev, and Winnipeg Jets, Rutger McGroarty, the 2 created players, both on their block. Come on. That's just right now, though. That's before we got to the preseason, before we get to the regular season. Things may change over time. So there are the trade blocks. In free agency, we know that Alex Formenton is still an RFA. All the other free agents are real-life free agents who are still out there. Joe Thornton, Tyler Ennis, Victor Rask, Danny DeKaiser, who signed a PTO with the Maple Leafs, I believe, or the Marlies. Cahoon, Boyle, Clendenning, blah, 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 all down the list, all players who are still out there. And for the goalies, Braden Holtby is still a free agent, and other miscellaneous names. Now the real last thing to close it out, because I keep forgetting, the coaching staff. I'm going to take care of the scouting and the scouting staff and all that stuff off screen by myself. But the coaching staff, luckily, we're starting with an A- head coach. This guy is, what's his name? Hugo Harrison Avery. A+ offense. I like to see that. So new coach here in San Jose, GM Data, has brought over his buddy Harrison Avery. They were friends back at Starfleet Academy, and here he is coaching in San Jose. Hopefully doesn't have to get fired, but a good 66% team fit. I like that very much. Now the thing is, it doesn't really matter anymore with line chemistry not mattering aside from X factors. But I guess that's cool to see. B- associate, C assistant, and D- goalie coach, B- AHL head coach. We'll be playing with the staff over time, and in the higher staff screen, no head coaches available right now, just B- guys. So that'll be it for the introductory episode here in San Jose. That is the team. Are we looking to trade anybody right now? What kind of direction are we going in at the moment? We'll be trying to grow guys like William Eklund, absolutely, but I'm listening to you for lineup ideas, trade proposals, the overall direction of the team for 2022-23. As much as it may make sense to kind of tank a bit, it's not really in my Android DNA. It's very rare that we have purposefully tanked in a franchise mode. Usually teams bring us in because, they haven't been getting the results, and it's now time to get them. So maybe I could rationalize a 1-year kind of thing, but with Couture and Vlasic and Carlson, everybody getting older and those cap hits not getting any cheaper, we're really going to want to deliver ASAP. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to watch. Leave any and all of your thoughts about what we're going to do or just your excitement. What do you think about this series? What are you looking most forward to? Leave those thoughts down in the comments here on YouTube or join us over on the Discord server where we're talking about this series, hockey, sports, fantasy sports, the world in general. It's a great server to join. We have a great community of a few hundred of us over there. We'd love to have you join in. The server is also used for any on-call questions during recording when I need a quick answer. If you want to be involved in those conversations mid-episode as opposed to just giving your thoughts after the fact, that would be a great place for you as well. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, if you haven't checked out the channel already, there are tons and tons and tons of videos for you to watch. Franchise mode, career simulations, and much, much more that have already happened and that are coming your way. So be sure to leave a like on this video if you're excited for the series, and don't forget to subscribe so that you will be made aware of all of the uploads for our Sharks franchise mode and everything else on NHL 23 and much, much more. So I'll stop talking. I appreciate you listening to my little blurb. Looking forward to seeing you again in the next one and hearing what all of you have to say on our new journey to dynasty status here with the San Jose Sharks.